Hi, welcome back to our podcast, Books Don't Review Themselves. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Kim.
And today we are doing another weekly roundup where we talk about books that we've read, listened to, movies, Netflix, Hulu, TV, just kind of anything we consume this week. So I'll let you start.
All right. The first one I'm going to talk about is a cozy mystery. It's called Here Comes the Body by Maria DeRico. And it will be coming out on March 1st. It's the first in a catering hall mystery. This one was really fun. It takes place in a catering hall, obviously. And one of the professions that I always thought that I would have enjoyed would have been a party planner. I love the details of it. I love the organization of it. And I love pretty things. So it's a great combo. But my husband and I used to DJ, and he DJ'd for many years, probably 12 or more years, and I DJ'd for about 5. And we did a lot of weddings and some other events. And after dealing with people, I realized there's no way in hell I would ever want to be a party planner because God, no. So back to the cozy mystery. Not only does it take place in a catering hall, but it also has mafia ties to it, which is super fun. There's just so much I feel like you can do either realistically or kind of far-fetched with the mafia. It has a little bit of both in this one, so that was enjoyable. I don't know what else to say about it. This one, there's some cozies where I'm like, it was just fine, whatever, it was a good read. Would I necessarily go back to those and read more? No, but this one I'm looking forward to seeing how it progresses. The other really fun thing in here was her grandma and her grandma's group of friends. I think the further adventures with grandma and her group, and there's also a pet support group in here too, so I just think the author has a bunch of potential for characters and also for murders/mysteries that can happen in the future. So I think that's another good thing in regards to Here Comes the Body.
I believe I had touched on The Nanny by Gilly McMillan in a previous wrap-up that we have done, but I don't think I had finished it, so I did finish it. The whole premise of the book basically is this wife and her daughter. Her husband dies tragically in a car accident. She's from England, but they live in California. And basically, her husband owns a business and has a business partner. And it's going to be a while before the funds from the business or whatever are going to be available to her. So she just really doesn't have the funds to continue to stay there. So she's kind of estranged from her mother in England, who her mother and father sounds like they were pretty wealthy. So she goes back to England with her daughter, who's like 7.
So she's a young girl still.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But, old enough to be observant of stuff. Because basically, the whole background of the story is that Hannah was the nanny that Jo, who's the mother, had growing up. And Hannah just had left one day when she was young, and she was devastated because she spent more time with Hannah than her own mother. Mm-hmm. She cared for Hannah as if Hannah was her mother. And basically her mother had told her, well, you were a bad girl, so Hannah left.
Oh my God, that's horrible.
So she grew up thinking that that's what happened.
Oh my.
So anyway, now she's back home and she's trying to find a job and she doesn't really have money, and someone comes back, this Hannah comes back and says that, she'll offer to help nanny Jo's daughter. And basically, Jo's daughter doesn't like Hannah and says, she doesn't really seem to say a lot. But at the same time, being a listener to this, it's like, how can the mom not pick up on this? That she's really uncomfortable with her. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, her mom is thinking of her memories with Hannah. And was like, how could,
So she's influenced by her own memories.
Right. And so basically the story kind of unfolds, and I really enjoyed the book. I think maybe it started off just a little slow. Okay. But once it started unraveling, it made you start thinking, is this really Hannah? Mm-hmm. Because then there's a, I don't remember if it was a full body or if it was just bones that was found in the lake at the property that the parents own in England. Okay.
So you're wondering if that
So
is
people
Hannah.
were speculating that was Hannah because she had just kind of disappeared in thin air.
Okay.
So then that whole story kind of unravels, and basically what Jo thought had happened, or what she was told, was not exactly what happened when she was younger.
Of course.
So it got to be very interesting, kind of probably towards the end of the middle of the book through the end. Not that the first part wasn't good, it just was a little bit slower. I'm pretty sure it's it's considered probably like a suspense or a thriller. But yeah, I mean, once I started getting past a certain point, it was like every moment I wanted to be listening because I'm like,
what's going to happen?
Yeah, we're getting closer to finding out what happened or what's going to happen. I would definitely recommend it. And it's a fairly new book because it looks like it came out September 10th of 2019.
My other one that I want to talk about is another cozy mystery. Surprise, surprise. It is A Case for the Winemaker by Candace Havens, and it's the first in the Ansley McGregor series. Candace Havens writes a lot of romance and lighter books. I read 2 of her books back in like 2008, and it was the start of a series. It was a supernatural paranormal romance, like with dragons and stuff, and it was really enjoyable. There only ended up being 2 books in the series. It's, maybe the publisher didn't pick up anymore, whatever. I have no idea what happens, but I was a little bummed when that series ended because it was enjoyable. So when I saw A Case for the Winemaker, I'm like, it's a cozy, and it's Candace Havens, so I guess I'm going to give this one a read. I enjoyed it. I will be reading more. I enjoyed the people, but I didn't really there wasn't any that stood out to me, like in Here Comes the Body, like with Grandma and stuff like that. Those people I want to get to know more and really enjoy. This one, the story was good. The mystery was good, although I knew early on who it was. But, it was still good. So I feel, I'm not going to say don't read it, but maybe read Here Comes the Body first before you read this one. And I mean, I know that's totally vague and so on and so forth. I think the one character that did steal the book was George Clooney, and that's her dog. I can't think of the breed. It's a huge dog though. He basically knew what people were saying, and it was adorable. But yeah, none of the other characters really stood out to me. So okay. I will read the next one. I think it's A Case for the Yarn Maker or something like that, just to see if it gets any better.
So the other book that I listened to, this one was just kind of on the whim, is called Good Girl, Bad Girl, and it's by Michael Robotham. It's fairly new, and I guess I haven't heard of it before.
I have not heard of that one at all.
But it came out July 23rd of 2019.
Okay.
So I'm just going to kind of quick read the synopsis because I don't really feel like I have a good way to explain this book. A girl is found hiding in a secret room in a house being renovated after a terrible crime. For weeks, she has survived by sneaking out at night, stealing food for herself and 2 dogs that are kept in the garden. The nurses at the hospital where she was taken call her Angel Face because she won't tell anyone her name or her age or where she came from. Maybe she's 12, maybe 15, or somewhere in between. She doesn't appear on any missing persons file or match the DNA of any murder victim. 6 years later, still unidentified, the same girl is living in a secure children's home with a new name, Evie Cormack. When she initiates a court case demanding the right to be released as an adult, psychologist Cyrus Haven is sent to interview Evie and decide if she's ready to go free. But Evie Cormack is unlike anyone he's ever met. She's damaged, destructive, and self-hating, yet possessed of a gift, or a curse that makes her both fascinating and dangerous to be with. The ability to tell when someone is lying. Soon he is embroiled in her unique and dangerous world. His life is in utmost peril. That is the synopsis. So this book on here has 4.5 stars with 158 reviews.
That's good.
I enjoyed the book. It definitely got better as it went on. It was good, but it wasn't one that left me with a super lasting impression. I guess I don't really know how to describe it.
Were you shocked at all?
There were some parts that, I was a little shocked by.
Was the ending shocking enough?
Yes,
okay.
And yes and no, because as things start to unfold, there's certain things that not necessarily that you guess per se, this is going to happen, but because of her character and listening throughout the book of the type of person she is, you kind of just know every situation that she gets into isn't going to go well, and you kind of start guessing how is this gonna go south.
Okay.
So it was good, but it wasn't something that I would be oh my god, I'm gonna reread this or whatnot. So yes, I did find myself picking this book up to listen to it, but once it was all said and done and I listened to the whole thing, I kind of sat there and I enjoyed it, but to me it's probably kind of a 3-star read.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you got nothing else to read, maybe give it a read, but
right.
Don't rush out and get it. For me, in regards to Netflix, I sat down to watch The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina Part 3, and I was maybe to like, I don't know, the third episode, and it was fine, but I wasn't enjoying it as much as the first 2 seasons, and it just felt, I mean, it's about teenagers, so you're going to have teenage angst and drama, but this season just felt really angsty, and it kind of amused me a little bit because at one point Aunt Zelda, one of Sabrina's aunts, actually even like says something about all the teenage drama or something. So it's like the show itself even knew that it was really angsty this season. I went back to Netflix and it said, you might like this. And I'm like, I looked at it and it was October Faction. And I'm like, yeah, I just might like that. So I kind of stopped watching The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and I started watching October Faction. And basically, I loved it because it reminds me of Sean McGuire's, one of her series, the Encrypted series, in numerous ways. So if you've never read Sean McGuire's Encrypted series, you should go read that one. But back to the October Faction, it's basically this mom and dad that they hunt monsters, and there's an organization that backs them. And this mom and dad did not tell their twins, who are 17-year-olds, what they do. So, of course, the twins find out. The father ends up going home because his dad is dead. So he has to deal with this huge mansion and, settling the estate and stuff. And the dad just wants to sell it because he had a horrible childhood and just get on with their lives. But the monsters come, and so his children now know what they do, mom and dad do, and they can't really sell the house now because they need it as a home base. Because, of course, there's things that are happening with the organization that backs them, and then his mom comes home, so there's things that are happening with her, and then the children, who are 17, almost adults, of course, there's things that start happening with them because you're dealing with monsters and supernatural. So you have all these different things that are happening, and it's all really, really good. And I love Monster of the Weeks, and this is similar to that. And so I finished October Faction, and it was awesome. And then I'm like, well, I need to finish Sabrina. So I went back and I finished Sabrina, and it was fine. The thing that really annoyed me, getting back to the teen angst, is the drama between Sabrina and her boyfriend, Nick Scratch. It was too much to me. And then the way it ends with Nick and one of the weird sisters probably getting together because they hate the world now. And I'm just like, oh, dear God. There was some fun parts because Lilith, a.k.a. Madam Satan, is awesome. And the aunts are great, Hilda and Zelda, or Hildy and Zelda, whatever. And there's good parts to it, but I was just let down. So I will watch season 4 if they have one of The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. And if you watch the first 2, I mean, you're probably going to watch the third one. But let me know, in the comments what you thought of this one. Maybe I'm just annoyed with teenagers. I don't know. If you do enjoy The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, I would definitely say go watch October Faction 2. I think that's one that you will like as well.
And then for me, there's a podcast that I listen to, but I typically watch on YouTube religiously. I just think they're hilarious. And that's The Basement Yard. That's with Joe Santagato and Danny Lopiore. They have an episode like every Monday, I think it comes out. And then they just started, I think this year, doing 2 episodes a week. So I don't always listen to the second episode. But that first episode, I'm pretty consistent with watching it on YouTube and listening to it. They don't necessarily talk about anything in particular. It's just funny. They'll talk maybe about like movies they've watched or whatever, but they're just so comical about how they do it. And then they also do, Joe Santagato has a business called Santagato Studios.
Okay.
And so they do different almost like improv type things. Mm-hmm. There's one that they did last year, and it was like the best thing ever, where it was Joe, Danny, and their friend Frankie. And literally Joe Santagato is just this guy from New York, and it's him and his friends. Okay. He started this years ago when he dropped out of college, and he was like, fuck it, I want to do comedy and whatever. And he used to do like different people of Walmarts and whatever. So, but it's evolved quite a bit, and like he actually employs some of his friends now, so it's grown. Mm-hmm. Last year they did this whole skit, and it was slam poetry.
Oh dear God.
It was so fucking funny. I've probably watched it like 17 times.
Yeah.
Like, it was to the point where they're like, because it's like these athletic, like kind of manly men, and they're like dressed up, and like one has like a scarf, and then they're like, no clapping, only snapping. So they're like, their friend Frankie, I think his real name is Francisco, so they call him Francisco. And they're like, then Danny, they call him Dante.
Oh, God.
And, you know, as they're reading this poetry, like, you can tell they're trying not to laugh, and the other guys are watching, and they're like, they can't hurt you here. They can't hurt you
it's
anymore.
It's a safe space.
Yeah. So it was just so fucking funny.
Oh, God.
And then so they released a new one this last week, and it was like it was just as funny. And like, it's ridiculous, and it's meant to be, you know, a joke, but I just think they're so funny. A lot of times, Danny had a birthday this week. I follow them on Instagram and stuff, and they'll do little, like, just snippets of what's going on throughout their day. And so Danny had a birthday, and he turned 31. And they always joke that he's getting fired because he's always late. And so it was like a Baskin Robbins cake that said 31. And
You're fired?
Yeah, it said you're fired. You know, so it's just like stupid shit like that. But I get so much joy out of it. I watch them regularly, so I would check them out.
Did you ever watch the Key and Peele skits at all?
Some of them on YouTube, yes.
Okay.
Like, I didn't watch them like when they were on TV, but I have watched some of them on YouTube, and it's kind of like that.
Because
like
I love that show. We
Yeah.
watched it. I don't remember if it was on Netflix or Hulu or whatever, but yeah, we watched it, and there's so many great skits in there. So good.
But I think that's really all we have for this week's wrap up. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. You'll get notified whenever we have new content out. Like we always say, if there's anything that we've watched, read, listened to, whatever, let us know your thoughts if you've done the same. And we appreciate suggestions. So we will see you next week. Bye. Bye.